Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, today we are covering a really, really fun topic, and it's how to grow your value and self-worth. And when I deal with people that struggle with different types of depression, anxieties, or just day-to-day stuff, I mean, let's face it, we all kind of wax and wane through feeling important, not feeling important, getting attention, not getting attention, and I want to just take a few moments to discuss here about true value, your authentic value. So the authentic value. So it's helpful to first have a bit of an idea when you're talking about authentic value, to have an idea as to, well, what creates a non-authentic value. Okay, what creates a non-authentic value? Well, I'll use this little model here and let's say the authentic value for you is a space of presence, a space of heart, a space of intention, a feeling that, if regardless of what your circumstances look like, that you have a value intrinsically. There's value there. So let's call that the heart, and just being present with the heart center. And let's say that the mind now goes off on some tangents. We go in and out of each day, waxing and waning between things that irritate us, frustrate us, ignite courage. Maybe we feel energized. We go through this range of different emotional states. And the idea would be is to, well, how do we get back to true value, to our true heart? When we look at a split away from the true heart, there's two kind of sides to it. One is a side of what I'll call altruism, which is a lack of self, a lack of a sense of self, a lack of self, we'll put here. Okay, or a minimized, I'll use that word too, minimized self. And then up top, we have a maximized self, which you could call on the narcissistic side. And so on the narcissistic side, on the maximized self, we exaggerate ourselves. So this is an exaggerated self. Like if I just said all of a sudden, you know what, this is the best talk of all time in human history. Okay, well, that would be an exaggerated sense of self that drums up. I had to call on the inner narcissist to be able to say that. Now, if I said, you know what, this is going to be the worst talk of all time on the entire planet, well, that would be lowering and minimizing my self-worth. That's not true either. Neither are true. It's not going to be the worst presentation on the entire planet of all time. It's not going to be the best presentation on the planet of all time. Neither of those two extremes are true. What's true is that I'm going to do my best in this moment to present what I at least know to be true, or that there's evidence to be true in my years of practice and my life experience and the work that I've done. I could say that I will give that. That's all I can give. That would be the truth. Now, in a minimized state, I'm going to demean this whole idea and demean the information and lower its worth to you, or value to you. And so in a minimized state, I'm lowering something's value. I'm lowering my value, or I'm lowering something's value. Okay, I'm lowering my value essentially. On this end here, I'm exaggerating my value. So there's an exaggerated value, there's a minimized value, and then there's a true value. And a true value usually births, at least what I've experienced, is it usually births from presence, some level of presence. When I feel present with you, I feel like my worth is there. I feel I'm not overtaking you, that you're not overtaking me. I feel like we are in a equitable relationship. And the same holds true for the world around you. When you wake up in the morning and you feel, oh my God, like it's only Monday, it's just started the week, and the week is already dominating you. Oh my God, I woke up, it's raining outside, I can't do anything, and you're a victim to the rain. You're already in a minimized mindset. You're already in a smaller frame of mind. So how do we get to the path of self-worth, true self-worth? Well, I would say probably for 80% of the people that I deal with, one of the things that they've lost over time is their connection with their true worth, and their connection with that. So how do we regain that? Well, what I found is very helpful is to go through two things. The two splits in us, the narcissistic side requires humility. Okay, so the narcissistic side in us requires humility. And the altruistic side requires value. So value is required on the altruistic side, and humility is required on the narcissistic side. You know that interfacing with people at times, if you haven't done enough self-study, interfacing with people that have an exaggerated self-worth, that lean on the narcissistic side, you're just hoping, you're just praying that something humbles them, or they fall into their heart, or they just relax a little bit to relax their sense of self, because it's so puffed up and exaggerated. And on the other hand, you can tell when someone's deflated, and you just really hope that they would just kind of pick up, and they would just like, come on, like just puff yourself up a little bit. You're not that bad. And so even as a parent, I mean, you notice these kind of two things, two sides of us that oscillate in our children. Even, it's like the side where they go off the wall. Where's the food in the fridge? It's like, whoa, like just like, hold on, chill out here. Who do you think you are? Like, versus someone who is, on the couch, sad and sobbing, who thinks the world is against them, who's been bullied, or who's been this and that. And so you can tell when someone needs the humility piece, and you could also tell when someone is not in their heart and needs a bit of a puffing up. When I was in, for team sports, classically, this essentially, when I look back, this was my primary role. Like if I felt the team was getting too high and too exaggerated in their own worth, I'd be like, guys, there's a lot of game left. Like you're trying to humble the system. There's a lot of game to go. Like, let's get not too elated that we got these 5 runs. Like, hold on, we got a lot of innings left in baseball, for example. Or if they're deflated and defeated, then it's like, okay, guys, like, how do we pick this up? How do we get going? Come on, we can do this. Let's go. Let's fire ourselves up a little bit. And so we all oscillate between these two pieces, between being exaggerated and being minimized. The way when you're being minimized for yourself, for your own self, is to ask a question of, where is my worth? Now, Ayn Rand wrote about this, about suicides, and I'll just kind of present this as an idea, is that the extreme form, she had mentioned about the extreme form of altruism, the extreme form is suicide. And it's like, if you kind of picture it, it's the smallest amount of self-worth. And the way that I picture it in my mind is, it's almost like the suicide is an evaporation of the self in a moment. And so it's the smallest little grain of self-worth then evaporated. On the other end, when on the narcissistic side, it's like such an exaggerated sense of your own self-worth that everything else looks smaller and minimized, and you're willing to take somebody else's life. And on the extreme side, we would call that homicide. So homicide is on the extreme form of narcissism, suicide on the extreme form of altruism. This is part of Ayn Rand's teachings. Now, that was just a bit of a side note, just to give you a little bit of frame of context between an exaggeration and a minimization. So what do we need to do to take maybe this grain of sand, minimized self-worth, and grow it? Well, we ask a simple question of where do I add value to other people? Okay. So where do I add value to others? Okay. And where am I valuable? Where am I valuable? Like, I want you to just take like a minute and say, like, what is your value for actually attending this right now? What is your value? What is your value to me of you attending it? So just think about that. Just think of like a couple of examples of your value of being here for me. Well, I get a chance to speak to somebody. I get a chance to share my information. Without you, I don't get an audience to speak to, et cetera, et cetera. So just find what your value is. Your value also is, we had someone sign up on Zoom. Okay, that's another value. You may not realize it, but that's part of a value. So you have value by being here. By you being here has inherent value to me. And I have some value to you. And so if you hopped on the call to think that only I am the valuable one in this exchange, which is very often what we do, that you have shrunk yourself relative to me and said, okay, well, I'm going to go and learn from Steve, and Steve's going to go and give me some information, and I'm going to learn from him. And all of a sudden you've maximized me and you've minimized yourself in this exchange. And so I find it really important in the healing process with people that they have the capacity to articulate their own worth relative to people that they have admired or put on a pedestal or think very highly of. It's important that they see that exchange, especially early on in like parents. Parents, you're automatically in a minimized state, and parents are in an exaggerated state. So I routinely get my kids to express their value around me so that they don't lose themselves in me, that they can see themselves in the exchange with me. So I ask the question of where do I add value to others, and where do I actually have value? So those are a couple questions. The second, if you can do that, if you can actually position the mind in a state of value, what it starts to do is it starts to take your mind up the ladder, and it brings it through different states of emotion. So it goes from being sad all the way up to acceptance and appreciation of you. Because at the end of the day, the goal is, in part, is self-love and appreciation. And you have self-love and appreciation so that you can ripple that off to others. And you can be in a loving exchange with other people and exchange. So you can't do that as effectively if there's not self-love and self-appreciation. And so because you won't participate. Okay. So those people that have a shrinked self-image, or they have a shrinked or minimized sense of self, we won't participate. So think about maybe something like if you were thinking about going to a party and all of a sudden you didn't want to go, and you're shrinking yourself relative to it, your body's activity to get involved in that is completely shrunk. It's minimized itself. And so now you're not going to be as eager to get up and to get going to that party, to that social event. So you need a healthy sense of self to be able to get this motor system of your nervous system to move in life. And so for many, many people that are depressed or sad or lethargic or feeling like they have a difficult time pushing the start button in life, this is an essential exercise to get the nervous system moving in life by finding your value. What is your value to yourself? What is your value to your immediate people around you? What is your value to your environment? The more you see your value in this, the more you'll want to participate. So just consider that any lack of participation or a withholding of your gifts, a withholding of your talents, a withholding of your love. A withholding is all a shrunk, minimized sense of self that doesn't yet see its value in expressing itself. Okay, so maybe just kind of consider that and just sit with that for a moment about thinking about, okay, well, how often do I express myself? Am I expressing myself to my fullest capabilities? Is there areas of life that I would like to express myself more in? Okay, those are good questions to ask. If there's areas of life that you'd like to express yourself more in, then it would be wise to ask, well, what is my value in there? Because you would be expressing yourself. If you have a desire to express yourself, but you're not expressing yourself, then there is a self-worth and value issue that you don't feel worth enough to be able to participate and activate that part of your nervous system. So take a look in your life and just ask, is there an area of my life that I would like to participate more in? Yes or no? Yeah, most of us have an area that they'd like to participate more in. Okay, then what is my value and worth by participating in that? So when you could see yourself and your value in that thing, then all of a sudden you begin to activate part of your nervous system called your motor nervous system to be able to take action. So that's the first, really like kind of the first step, I would say, in moving from that I deal with people in moving from sadness, depression, lethargy, and just kind of they feel lazy, they feel fatigued, they don't feel like participating in life, those types of things. The first job I do is ask them, okay, what is the value? What is the value that you actually have in life right now? So that's step one. What is the value? Step two, what's your value to others? So I pick like a few key people, like who are the like maybe top 3 people that are important in your life. Okay. And so now as we're articulating this and we're going through with, I go through with people like anywhere between 20 to 50 repetitions of like different ways that they're valuable in with other people or within a situation, social settings. We work through social anxieties with this, is seeing yourself big enough to participate. Okay, once you see yourself big enough to participate and that value is large enough, you will participate. But oftentimes it takes anywhere between 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 repetitions before you see, oh my God, there is enough worth for me to participate in this particular exercise. So I want you to consider that first before I kind of go on to the next half of us about the humility side. The value piece to me is important to come out of and pull yourself out of sadness, depression, lethargy, fatigue, those types of things, and continuing to articulate and see your value. The way that you can pull somebody else out of that, as an example, would be if somebody is like listless and and just not able to move and they're feeling down and depressed, just like I did with the baseball team, is you're articulating, you're reflecting to them areas that they are valuable, areas that they are worthy, areas that they do add value to your life. And by articulating that, yes, they're having to kind of buy into you, but you're also revealing evidence to them that they actually have self-worth and value. So this is a way that you can help other people that just can't quite muster up the cognitive energy or the mental energy to find where their value is. You could start rhyming off what their value is. You mean this to me. You mean this to me. Write a note to them. You mean this. I can't believe how great you are here. I can't believe how great you are here. And that will already start to kind of begin the foundations of building up some self-worth and driving some of their energy. So those would be a couple of ways that I find to be really effective to help people to grow their self-worth. Generally, your actions will follow your self-worth. And also what you begin to attract into your life is a reflection of your self-worth. And I will say this with some degree and some evidence of truth, working with numerous people over time, is that When you're functioning on a lower altruistic, minimized sense, you're also simultaneously attracting in more of the narcissistic type to help to reveal to you, to wake you up to your own worth and your own value. When I've worked with people, and this is really kind of a quirky little design, but when I've worked particularly with females, with narcissistic partners and husbands, they tend to have quite the diminished sense of self-worth. And so it's a building up of that self-worth to the point where they no longer require the narcissist to catalyze them to grow their self-worth. And I've seen this over and over and over again, not thousands of times, but hundreds of times, definitely. I've seen where the altruist builds themselves up high enough where they just don't attract narcissism in their life. It's absolutely astounding. And if somebody does come in with an exaggerated sense of pride, it doesn't affect them. They're emotionally tolerant to it. They're resilient to it because they have a solid sense of self-worth. At this very kind of premature point in my development, and I'm just being humble on that, I would say that I would partially conclude at this point that attracting in a narcissist in your life is a design to get you to grow your sense of self-worth, to get you to grow your sense of self. And it's not about being a victim. It's about growing your sense of worth so that you don't have this polarized position. And I find oftentimes that this altruistic side of us, we have this thing, but it's like the hidden narcissist. It's like the hidden self-worth is in there. So if I was just to draw this out, it's like we're minimized here, but we're hiding our worth. And so with this hiding of the worth, we attract in this narcissist in our life to get us to pop this bubble so that we could honor and accept our true worth. So I see a narcissist as a catalyst for someone who's playing a little more on the self-minimized side to open the bubble of their hidden narcissistic side, their hidden self-worth. Open it up, pop the bubble, let that self-worth grow, open it up. Because the people inevitably that come to me that want to resolve the issues, they've grown they've been on the path of dumping the narcissist or getting away from the narcissist. And what do? They grow their self-worth. I deserve more. I am more. I deserve to be in a better relationship. They're already starting to grow their self-worth. And so this to me is the little hidden gem in relationship dynamics that most people don't talk about. Because we're busy crucifying the narcissist instead of saying, wow, why are they in my life? And how do I grow my self-worth so that I feel worthy enough to have a partner that feels in connection with me and feels equal with me. And so you were in potentially a lopsided relationship, and dissolve that relationship, grow your self-worth. I find that to be really effective. So just consider, as you're growing your self-worth, that you're going to be attracting in new things into your life. You'll have new business opportunities, financial opportunities, creative opportunities. You'll have new relationship opportunities as your self-worth grows, because people, tend to want to be around or accumulate around people with a heartful, strong self-worth. And when that is happening, you become more magnetic. The more minimized you are, you become a little more, let's say, interesting to the predator who could dominate something. So growing your self-worth to me is absolutely essential, because you're going to magnetize people of equal worth. And it's just something fun to explore. So hopefully this was kind of helpful, kind of like stir some thoughts in there for you. And the exercise, again, is really just about growing your self-worth, repping it out, and seeing your value with yourself and with other people. From my heart to yours, have a beautiful day. Thank you.